Come have a seat in the Skald circle and hear the tale of magic singing as told to you by Casimir. Before we begin our tale, did you know that we release new stories for free every week on Wednesdays? Be certain to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, Podbean, or whatever your favourite podcast app is. That way, you'll never miss out when we release free bonus stories other days of the week. Never forget, visit thescaldcircle.com to stay up to date with all of our current happenings, and to also visit our story archive, sorted by origin and region. Now then, this begins the tale of magic singing. Cling, 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 clang, cling. Listen to the red-haired wizard from the land of thousand lakes. In the days of golden wonders, when the world was made from an egg, the earth from its lower half, the sky from its upper part, the moonshine from its white, and the sunshine from its yellow, the great ancient wizard, Wainamoinen, came to the land of heroes. Out of the rolling, tossing billows, out of the white wreathed waves, out of the crested sea foam, crept that wonderful enchanter. He stood up on a wide and desolate isle. Then he called out a magic youth, and bade him to sow seed of many kind. The magic youth sowed seed on swamp and lowland, on mountain and hill. Fir trees sprang up on the mountains, pine trees on the hills, slender birches in the swamps, and lindens in the valleys. And junipers grew up, all hung with clustering berries. Not only on that isle, but in the land of heroes spread wide, wide forests and meadows, merry thrushes sang along the forest trees, and velvet-throated cuckoos trilled in the silver birches. Luscious strawberries and cloudberries nestled among their own leaves. Golden flowers grew on the meads. Lovely was the land of heroes. Then the ancient wise Wainamoinen, with his belt full of wonderful tales, passed his days happily in the land of heroes. Far, far away sounded his voice. All the people in the Southlands heard his magic songs and tales, and even the folk of far Lapland listened in wonder to them. Now in far dismal Lapland dwelt a young wizard, Youkahainen by name. He heard the Lapland folk say, "The sweet singer of the land of heroes is better skilled in tales and magic than is our Youkahainen." At that moment, black envy entered Youkahainen's heart. "I will go to the land of heroes," exclaimed he. "I will challenge this ridiculous wizard to a contest. I will sing him my oldest tales and chant my powerful magic words. I will put him to shame and transform him into some mean thing. He shall sing the worst of songs." Then Youkahainen rushed to his stable and led out his horse. Flames darted from its nostrils, sparks flew under its hooves. Youkahainen hitched his horse to a golden sledge, and leaping onto the sledge, took his dog beside him. He struck the horse with his pearl-decorated birch whip. Away they sped with a thunderous clatter. All that day the horse galloped southward, all the next day onward and onward. On the third day, Youkahainen reached the heath-covered meadow in the land of heroes, where Wainamoinen dwelt. Now it happened that the ancient Wainamoinen himself, driving his own golden sledge, came racing along the roadway. Youkahainen saw him coming, and did not turn out. Fiercely he urged on his foaming horse, and dashed upon Wainamoinen. The two sledges struck. Their shafts were driven together, the reins and traces were tangled. The horses stood still, smoking and fiery. "Who are you, and whence come you?" cried the ancient Wainamoinen. "You drive like a silly boy. You have broken my sledge and ruined my reins and traces." "I am the young and wise Lapland wizard," sneered Youkahainen. "What low fellow are you, and where do you come from? Is it possible you are the famous wizard and singer, Wainamoinen? If so, let us sing together. Let us chant our magic songs. He who is the sweetest singer shall keep the roadway. Other shall take the roadside." "I accept your challenge," said the ancient Wainamoinen. "But first tell me, golden youngster, some of the wisest things you know." "Oh, my wisdom is great indeed. I know many wise things," answered Youkahainen. "Listen. Every roof must have a chimney. Every fireplace a hearthstone. Lives of seals are free and merry. Salmon eats the perch and whiting. Laps still plough the land with reindeer. In your land they plough with horses. This is some of my great wisdom. Such foolish stuff, said the ancient Vainamoinen. May suit women and babies, but not bearded heroes. Tell me, now, what happened when the world began? Oh, well, I know much wisdom about that too, boasted Youkahainen. Listen. Boiling water is malicious. Fire is full of danger. Magic is the child of sea foam. Waters gush from every mountain. Fir trees were the first of the houses. Hollow stones the first kettles. Foolish words, cried Vainamoinen. Is that all the nonsense you can talk? Oh, I can tell you what really happened in those golden first days, said Youkahainen. Listen. For 'twas I who plowed the ocean, hollowed out the depths of the ocean, when I dug the salmon grottos, when I all the lakes created, when I heaped the mountains round them, when I piled the rocks around them, I was presented as a hero. When the heavens were created, when the sky was crystal pillared, when arched the beauteous rainbow, when the silver sun was planted, and with the stars the heavens were sprinkled. You are a shameless liar, cried Vainamoinen, the prince of all liars. Come, you old wizard, shouted Youkahainen, tossing back his black hair. Let us fight with knives. If you are afraid to fight, why then I will sing you into a wild boar of the forest, with a swinish snout and swinish heart. At that moment, Vainamoinen waxed fierce with rage. He frowned terribly. Then he began his magic singing, beginning his magic incantations. Grandly sang the wise Vainamoinen, sang till the mountains shook with fear, and the flinty rocks and ledges heard his magic tones and crumbled, and the billows heaved and thundered on the shore. The boastful Youkahainen stood in terror. Vainamoinen sang, and he changed Youkahainen's sledge runners into saplings, sang his reins into alders, sang the golden sledge to float upon a lake, changed the birch whip, pearl ornamented, into a reed, and the horse into a white stone by the water. And the grand old Vainamoinen sang, sang Youkahainen's gold-handled dagger into a gleam of lightning in the sky above him, his painted crossbow into a rainbow, his feathered arrows into hawks soaring around his head, his dog into a block of stone, sang his cap off his forehead, sang it into wreaths of white vapor, sang his gloves into water lilies, his belt set with jewels into a twinkling band of stars around him. As Vainamoinen sang, Youkahainen began to sink into a swamp of mud and water. He sank to his waist. He could not lift his feet, and great pain shot through him. "O wise Vainamoinen," he cried in terror. "Oh, you greatest of wizards, speak your magic words backwards, repeat your magic incantations backwards, and free me from this place of horror. I will pay you a rich ransom." "What ransom will you give me?" asked Vainamoinen. "If I will cease my enchantments, if I will turn away my magic." "Free me from this torment," cried Youkahainen, "and I will give you my 2 magic crossbows that hang in my Lapland house." "I do not wish for your magic crossbows. I have bows hanging on every nail and rafter." Then Vainamoinen sang again, and poor Youkahainen sank deeper and deeper into the mud and water. "Oh, I will give you my beautiful boat, swift and magical." "I do not want your magic boats. My bays are full of wonder boats." Then Vainamoinen sang poor Youkahainen deeper, and yet deeper into the mud and water, till he cried in anguish, "I will give you my magic horses." "I do not want your magic horses. Magic horses crowd my stables." Deeper, deeper, down, 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 sank poor Youkahainen to his shoulders, and he offered gold that glitters in sunshine, and silver that gleams in the moonshine, and all his cornfields and his corn. But sorrow-laden and enchanted, he sank to his chin in the mud and water. Seaweed filled his nostrils, and grass tangled in his teeth. "Oh, you ancient Vainamoinen," prayed and beseeched poor Youkahainen, "wisest of all wisdom singers, stop your magic incantations. Turn away your magic spells, save me from this smothering torment. Free my eyes from sand and torment, and I will give you my sister Aino, fairest of all Lapland's daughters. She shall be your bride. Sweep your rooms and keep your house. She shall rinse your golden platters and weave golden covers for your bed. She shall bake your honey biscuit." "That is the ransom I wish," exclaimed the ancient Vainamoinen. "Lapland's young and fairest daughter to be my lovely bride forever, and the pride of the land of heroes." Then joyfully Vainamoinen sat down upon a rock and sang a little, then sang again, and then sang a third time. Backwards he weaved his magic incantations, and backwards sang his magic songs. The charm was broken. Youkahainen dragged his feet from the mud, lifted his chin out from the mud, and stood up. He led his horse away from the water, drew his golden sledge to land, picked up his pearl-ornamented birch whip, hitched his horse to his sledge, threw himself on it, and snapped his whip. Heavy-hearted and sorrowful, he sped away to Lapland. Night and day the horse galloped, and on the third day Youkahainen reached his home. He drove recklessly against the house wall, broke his shafts, and smashed his golden sledge. His mother, grey and aged, came running out to meet him. "Why do you break your snow sledge, son?" cried his father. "Why do you come home this wild way?" Then poor Youkahainen wept, broken-hearted. "Tell me, firstborn, why do you weep?" asked his mother. "Golden mother, ever faithful," cried Youkahainen. "Surely I have cause to weep. I have promised my dearest sister, your beloved Aino, to the ancient wizard Vanamoinen to be his bride." Then his mother clapped her hands with joy. But the fair and darling maiden, beautiful Aino, began to weep bitterly. "Now listen, all ye Lapp people," cried the red-haired wizard of the land of 1,000 lakes. "Soon I'll tell you more of Aino, and of Vanamoinen's wooing, and more of Lapland's rainbow maiden, and of the wondrous magic Sampo. And that is the tale of magic singing. Thank you for listening to our story. If you enjoyed it, please take a look at our Patreon page to learn how you can earn great rewards while also supporting us. We appreciate even the smallest of contributions, as they allow us to continue to release new stories every week for free on Wednesdays, and to also provide bonus stories for your listening pleasure. A special thank you to Kat for their support this month. It means the world to us. Visit us at thescaldcircle.com to view our story archive, sorted by origin and region, and to stay up to date with all of our current developments. Once again, thank you for listening to our story.